Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Excellent. So, Nate, how are you doing?
Doing good.
Yeah.
Doing good.
Excellent. I was just explaining there, and for the benefit of listeners, that there was about 3 people who registered to take part in the Ask Us Anything session, and unfortunately, they've not shown up. So that is...
They're missing out.
They are missing out. It's a very poor show. I'm going to admonish them. The other sort of co-hosts, they had a couple of diary clashes and stuff, which were unavoidable, and I understand that. So we'll hopefully see them next time. I might actually just arrange it that we perhaps just have a session with all of us, or try and get a more frequent sessions going so that we're able to cope with diary clashes a little bit better. But there we go. But anyway, so today's show is about community. And this is your baby, Nate. So,
yeah, do you want to just dive right into it here?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, so I think the P99 community as a whole is awesome. I think it vastly stands out from a lot of other, you talk about like game communities and things like that. I think it's far and away one of the best, if not the best that I've experienced.
So what makes it stand out for you?
Well, I think there's a genuine understanding from let's say you're fairly new, right? Let's say you're a little level 5, you're a little gnome necro running around, right?
Yeah, you've bought me already. That's good. Yeah.
And I think everyone, all the level 60s running by, if they're running by or whatever, understand the struggle because they've all been there, right? Everyone's had to start at 0 or 1 and work up. So people are always willing to help. I've had random people just say, "Oh yeah, I'll kill this guy for you. Get the drops or whatever." Like,
have you?
Always willing to toss buffs or gear or anything like that. So
that's brilliant. I mean, it's slightly different from my experience, but I think that's more down to my own personality traits than it is down to the community.
Oh,
so
how do you differ?
I'm not an introvert. Obviously, I host a bloody podcast, for God's sake, right? But it's more about my sort of play style. I've got a very limited time to play.
Yeah.
So I've got a really tiny amount of time to devote to to EverQuest and to the podcast. And when I do play EverQuest, sometimes I'm absolutely exhausted, So, and I find it really important to get myself into a group straight away. So I've obviously been on Twitch and I've been on Oasis of Mar, but I can never get my bloody druid leveling really quickly, which is a complete and utter fail. And it's not because I'm just rubbish at it, although that's a contributing factor. It's the fact that I just haven't got the time, but that keys into what you're saying as well. I guess the community aspect would help with alleviating some of the time required, especially if you've got a little bit more time, say 3 hours a session.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, just the other day I was waiting I was playing with my dad and we were waiting around in Mistmore and, everything was full up and we were like in the 30s. So we needed like castle entrance or at least graveyard and everything was full up.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, there was just a guy waiting there with us and he was like, "Oh, I'll just bring my druid friend to come by and he'll port us to, some other zone."
Yeah.
I think we ended up going to like Soleil or something. But,
cool. I've been there for ages.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it was just like, that sense of community, just like, oh yeah, I'll help these guys out. No big deal.
Yeah.
So I think that's missing in a lot of modern games.
Yeah, I think so too. And I was talking about monsters and memories in the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
I had another shot at that. And I've also reached out to the developers of that as well.
Okay.
But I've been following it a little bit more than I have been previously.
Yeah.
And they've really taken it back to the nuts and bolts of the MMO basics, about the make things hard, make grouping important, that sort of stuff. Don't give too many pointers away, all of that stuff. And, I really find that parallels the P99 experience a great deal. And with a couple of little add-ons, which some people would probably argue aren't purist, but they're quite nice, like a quest journal, for example. But there is no map, And so I find myself drawn to P99 and obviously the brief sessions I have on Monsters and Memories when they have a play test and whatnot. And it's because of the whole, and the community, sorry, I forgot to mention, the community in Monsters and Memories is really reminiscent of the early EverQuest community as well. It's all the helpfulness, it's all the, it's meant to be this way. It's, and there are lots of great ideas in the Discord about how to, make taverns great, and give them a use and all of that sort of jazz. I just find that the whole community are actually taking an active role in not the development, but the nudging of ideas that the developers will then sort of run with, Yeah,
so I think that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people underestimate the grouping aspect. I think the old school way of doing MMOs where it was, you couldn't take on everything by yourself. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
I think I know a lot of people, I think anyone, younger than me or even my age would probably be like, oh, well, I love playing solo games. And that's great. Solo games are fun, but you're missing that community aspect, and forcing players to group because you can't complete the content otherwise is a really good way to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sorry, carry on.
I was going to say, like, a lot of other MMOs, like take WoW, for example, right? Have like grouping tools. So, which is not the same because it's, you do your dungeon run, your instance dungeon run, and then you never see those people again. What I mean? It's 25 minutes or 20 minutes, and then you're just done. You never see them again. So it's not the same, in my opinion.
No. So it brings us on to guilds, really, I suppose, doesn't it? Because that's a big aspect of EverQuest. And, I mean, I'm in a guild at the moment, like we talked about, it's Castle. I find myself on the outskirts of Castle quite often because of the fact I can't play as often as I want to play. But I do find that every time when I dip in, it's friendly and it's amazing. And, people are all helping each other in the guild all the time at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
At the drop of a hat. And I'm just wondering, and they're building relationships with each other as well. That's the key. It's exactly as you said. It's not we'll group for like 20 minutes or so, kill this mob, then sayonara. It's, a definite, well, shall we go here next? And what about doing this next? And how you doing? And, all of that sort of stuff. It's a really great community aspect.
Yeah, I'm in a guild with my enchanter. I'm like 30 something, 34, something like that.
Yeah.
And
still.
Yeah, I know. I get too distracted with all the alts and
Yeah, I know.
But no, I logged on the other day and the group message or the guild message for the day was hey, if any enchanters need a Nereid shawl from what's the mermaid zone?
That Siren's Grotto, is it?
Yes, from Siren's Grotto, which is an amazing item for enchanters. They're like, oh yeah, I'm just camping it, so anytime you need one, just let me know. Like that's crazy.
It is crazy.
So people are always willing to help, which is so awesome.
So, I mean, we're waxing lyrical here about the community being so fabulous, but what are the downsides, do you think, as well?
Well, I enjoy the Reddit, so I peruse there a lot. I just read a
story.
The
Reddit.
I just read a story. I think it was today, actually, or maybe it was yesterday, but I think it was today, about a guy that was camping Stormfeather in Velius. I think it's a Nextclad, and there was a quake. And the wiki says specifically, if there's a quake and it pops, it's not free to engage. It still continues with the the order, whoever's camping it, whatever, if they get a list, whatever.
Yeah.
And somebody came up and killed it while the guy was camping it. So, and I think one of the commenters had said something like I thought was dead on. He said 9 out of 10 times you get an amazing, super helpful, awesome person, and then that one time it's like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
Listen, for 10%, I mean, for any community, that's pretty good, I think.
That is pretty good. Yeah. The little bad apples here and there, exactly. You're bound to have them, aren't you? I was looking at some other stuff as well around about coping with the way things are in real life at the moment. I mean, financial situations, tension in the world, political scenarios, and all of that sort of gubbins. And I'm not going to get too deep into that because that's a rabbit hole I don't want to go down.
Slippery slope.
Yeah, it is very much a slippery slope. But some of the items that popped out at me was the fact that, escapism is one of the reasons people choose MMOs. And EverQuest really does allow that huge amount of, I mean, a lot of other games do, but you actually can plug into almost like a different personality when you're playing, because you've got all these little online friends, look at me, these online friends to sort of, I don't know, interact with, which are outside of the norm of your normal social environment that you've got. Yep. So say, for instance, you're in a family situation, like I was just kind of like mentioning, where my son's got some difficulties and things aren't great at home. Mm-hmm. You don't want to escape from that. You want to deal with that, obviously. But you do have to have a sense of light about your life as well, haven't you? You've got to have a little bit of escapism. And, Norath definitely provides some of that escapism, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It, in some ways, especially early days when the game was first out, I mean, some people were doing that too much probably. So
yeah. I was just reading another few Reddit posts again about gaming widows and Evercrack and all of that sort of stuff. And divorce has been caused by it. And that's the thing. The divorces aren't being caused by EverQuest, are they? They're being caused by people's behavior towards it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Just like everything in the world and everything in life, it's all a balance, right?
Yeah.
It's everything in moderation.
Yeah. Everything in moderation. You ought to be a shrink.
I'll tell my therapist you said so.
Very good. Yeah, so I think that, touching back on your community thing, so, you do find that camaraderie, you do find that support, but I don't find it as easy as you, perhaps, and I think you would find it easy, Nate, because you've got your dad, you've got your brother-in-law, and you can also plug in and play together and, that sort of thing. Whereas I have not got any of that. So, it's kind of like I'm kind of reaching out to, actually thinking about how I do play when I go to, so for instance, Oasis on my Druid. I do look for a group because it's fairly easy to find one there. I do find that I get quickly disheartened if I don't find a group.
Yeah. I feel the same exact way.
You do. So that's like normal. So
because I think, and this is a personal opinion, but it sounds like you share it. I think grouping is one of the best aspects of this game.
Yeah.
And I think it's not the same game without it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Do you I feel I get sometimes imposter syndrome when I'm playing.
In terms of what?
Because, say, for instance, I'm playing, any character really. So my Necro, for example,
sure.
I always feel as if I should. The game has been around for like 25 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even in conversations with yourself and the other co-hosts and stuff like this, the amount of knowledge coming from you guys, and you just spin off these item names and stuff like this, and you're saying, oh, that's a really good drop and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, yeah, sounds interesting. I haven't heard of that, and it's that kind of feeling that I get sometimes when people are in groups, perhaps, or in guild chat, and they go, oh, yeah, this has popped up. And I feel like such a noob because I don't want to just turn around and say, well, what does that do? And how do you get that? And who is that best for? And all those questions that you would get when people mention these sorts of things. So I do kind of get a little bit of an imposter syndrome, I think, when I'm playing. And I'm not going to get too heavy on this, but that from a sort of confidence perspective, kind of like knackers it for me.
I get that. Yeah.
Do you?
I do. Yeah. I mean, listen, I think there's a million things. There's so much information about this game, right? It's impossible for everyone to know everything, or anyone to know anything. Excuse me. There's just a wealth, and you could spend years and years and years, and people have, and still don't know everything.
Yeah.
So, I can't name a tenth of the items in the game. I mean, for example, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's just to say, like, hey, this is my area. I'm really knowledgeable about this stuff. Maybe I don't know a ton about this class. Maybe I've never played this class, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's got something that they're knowledgeable about, and just because maybe someone doesn't pursue that doesn't mean they're not like anything, because it's important to some people and it's not important to other people.
Yeah. So I guess it's just having a strategy to cope with it, and most of it would be to ignore the fact that you don't know everything. And just accept that, isn't it?
Or just
being inquisitive.
Yeah, I would. That's what I would say. Is just say, hey, I'm not familiar with such and such thing, whatever it is, item, skill, whatever. And I think that is one of the advantages, in addition to like the the grouping stuff and everything else. But that is one of the big advantages of this community, is everyone is always willing to help, whether it's like I was talking about, buffs, gear, whatever. Also, knowledge is a massive one.
Yeah. I mean, I was just looking at some comparisons between some of the Reddit subreddits. So you look at the P99 subreddit, and you look at the EverQuest subreddit, and there's a marked difference, isn't there?
Absolutely. People on P99 write like novels in response to people's questions and stuff like that, like full explanations.
Yeah.
And the other subreddits, it's like, oh yeah, look at the wiki. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's and also you get I don't want to annoy anyone, but probably will. But but on the EverQuest one, there's a sort of, I don't know, there's a degree of, I don't know, what's the right word for it? Pomposity,
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit, oh, well, you don't have to do it. Just go straight to level 80 or whatever and get yourself, I don't know when the mercenaries start, but
I think level 1, but yeah.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Get yourself. Oh well, don't bother with the first 80 levels then, and get yourself up and do yourself some mercenaries and sort of run around, and you'll be fine in no time. But that strikes me as missing a lot of the experience of the game, and also not really directly answering the question that the person asked.
Yeah.
Just almost dismissing their requirement or need or want to actually know something about the earlier levels and experience it. Just instead saying, just go to level 80. Just what you're doing that for. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I just saw a post.
Yeah, sorry.
I just saw a post the other day. I think it was yesterday. Someone was talking about they wanted to tank. They wanted to play a tank in a group. Yeah. And they were asking about the differences between Paladin, Shadow Knight, and then Warrior.
Yeah.
And somebody wrote up like I read the whole thing. It was a beautifully written, like, entire explanation of each class individually, and then at the end a little bit of a comparison how they stack up to each other in terms of like rating, grouping, all kinds of stuff. So it was like it was awesome. It was like 5 paragraphs.
Wow, that is amazing, isn't it? Really helpful.
Yeah. People love to share knowledge.
Yeah. Good people, and of course there's a sense of achievement as well, isn't there? You can, once you do things and achieve things in game, perhaps by finding things out via other people, but under your own initiative, it gives you that sense of achievement. And that's another thing that links back to my previous one about the slight mental health thing, where that will boost self-esteem.
Absolutely.
So,
and there's a lot of people, myself included, which one of the reasons I love coming on here, besides your awesome personality, I get a lot
slight downer at the moment.
No, I think there's a lot of people, including myself, that get a lot of fulfillment from sharing that knowledge that I've garnered, and with other people, and getting more people introduced to the game, and that kind of thing. So
Yeah, so what do you reckon the secret is to getting more people introduced to the game?
I think it's the opposite of what a lot of people think.
Oh,
This is my personal take. I
yeah,
think the idea of nostalgia and the idea of like, oh, I played 20 years ago is awesome.
yeah.
But I think you've gathered most of those players already,
Mm,
and I think that well's drying up, if not already.
mm,
I think trying to appeal to a younger generation and
hmm.
using it as like I don't know if you have played a lot of other games, but use it as like a Dark Souls or a Demon Soul, like something. I don't know if you know anything about the game, but it's like a very, very like difficult intentionally game.
Yeah,
And a lot of people have gotten a lot of fulfillment out of that because everything's so easy today.
yeah.
So marketing it as, hey, this game is difficult and there's mechanics and there's knowledge that needs to be, all kinds of stuff. I think that would be, and again, to a younger generation, I think that would be a big, big step.
Is it a hard sell to that generation, do you think?
Probably. And look, I think with any game as deep and as serious as EverQuest, look, there's always going to be it's always going to be a niche, fit for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's never going to be, I mean, it was in 1999 or whatever, but that again, it was because it's brand new and it was kind of one of the first, but it's
Yeah.
never going to be, a triple A. You got millions of players. Like it's just never gonna
It's
do
not going to
that.
get those days back again, is it?
No,
Really?
no, it's never going to come back to the heyday. But
Mm.
I think there's a lot of opportunity to reach out and try to pull more people in.
You touched on the nostalgia thing, which we've sort of hammered a couple of times on the episodes of the
Hmm.
podcast, because frankly, nostalgia is a very powerful tool,
Absolutely.
But I also think that if we perhaps, focused a little bit on where EverQuest came from, I mean, it was basically born out of the muds, wasn't it? Really,
Yeah.
that's where it actually came from. And they were, I mean, okay, some of them were difficult to play because they were text-based and stuff like that. But, they had such a rich lore behind them and everything. Oh, I forgot to say, sorry, segue. Look what I got.
Ooh, that's awesome. Is that like an original one?
Yeah. Well,
That's
I think
great.
it's original.
Wow.
How do you know if it's original? It's got a glossy cover. I know that much.
I mean, I'm assuming it's not reprinted today because who would reprint a 25-year-old book? But yeah, that's awesome.
So what I'm showing Nate at the moment is the EverQuest Companion, The Inside Lore of a Game World by Robert B. Marks. And you can probably get that for, I mean, I can't remember when it retailed or what it retailed for, but you can find it for about £25, which is what, $30, $35,
Something like that, yeah.
something like that. But I got this for a tenner.
Oh, that's great.
So I was dead chuffed with it, and I've been reading it, and it does go on about the birth of EverQuest and where it came from, and also the internet revolution that kind of just preceded it and helped it along. So, these computer games like King's Quest and Zork and things like this, I mean, these are sort of games from the distant past for me, and I could never...
all those.
Yeah. So I was just reading it, and some of the stories that people talk about on here are just amazing. I'll probably go into it in a few details, a bit more detail in next episodes and stuff if I can manage it. But that wasn't really about the nostalgia. It was about the birthplace of the game and the intricacies and the complexity that went into the game to make it what it actually is, rather than what seems to be the cookie cutter games that you get these days, where it's like,
absolutely,
you choose your generic class, in a generic fantasy world, that is nowhere near based on Lord of the Rings that this claims EverQuest has a lot of roots in,
Okay, that's interesting.
Which was interesting. Yeah, it did actually state that. And I mean, it's not the only sort of,
of course,
kernel in it, but it was, it's one of the main things. But these cookie cutter games are also like just copies of each other, if you like, and I guess they sort of go towards a facet of behavior of players, so they're coping with the sort of, I've only got an hour to play and I want to feel uber.
Yeah, I mean,
type of player.
That is definitely the case for a lot of modern games.
Which is a real challenge to overcome, isn't it?
Well, I mean, there's not a lot of attention spans today, even, especially among younger people. So I understand the direction. I think there has been recently, like very recently, I don't want to say like rebirth, but like a little bit of a resurgence of older style games.
Right.
So, there's hope in that sense in terms of like pulling more people in, if that's what everyone's interested in.
I think we're probably doing some younger people a disservice, because there's I play Stellaris as well.
Okay, that's a good
game. Which is amazingly deep and quite long-winded in its gameplay. So you've got to have a long attention span to actually play that game, to actually get anywhere, and there are lots and lots of young players playing it. So, I think that it might just be a case of, publicizing it a bit more, more social posts about it, as in EverQuest, more, not about EverQuest itself, because I find that a turn off, really. But P99 is not a turn off for me. And I know I've got an audience of 2 now. But it's like, and the reason I say that is because of this whole just get to level 80 thing that people keep on going on about.
Yep.
So.
Well, even if you go to like most other MMOs, right? Everyone says, oh, well, the real game starts at max level.
Yeah.
Why?
Why does the real game start there? Yeah.
Why do I have to wait 120 levels or 80, whatever it is? Like, it doesn't matter the game, but why do I have to wait that long to start playing the game?
Yeah.
That's so crazy to me. And, I think one of the biggest things also is class identity is massive in EverQuest. And, a lot of that has gone away in some other classes or in some other games, excuse me.
Yeah.
You transition from a healer. Okay, I push heal once in a while, but then I DPS. To a tank where, okay, I turn on tank stance and then I just DPS.
Right.
Like, there's no difference. Like, it's DPS with extra buttons. Like, it's
You're
so
just
weird
kind
to
of
me.
Merging the classes, basically. You find there's a lot of merging going on.
And so they lose their identity.
Distinction. Yeah.
And it's, I'll even take Final Fantasy, which is Final Fantasy 14, which is a great game. I will not take away from it. It is, However, you take a look at some of the healers, right? Just as an example. What is the difference between the Astrologian and the White Mage? Okay, one does a little bit of card stuff. It can do heals or regens, but that's it. And the other one just does straight heals. Like, there's no
real difference.
Yeah, Druids can port in EverQuest, which is massive. Like, it's one of 2 classes that can do it. That's huge. Shaman has the best statistic buffs in the game. Like, there's a massive difference there, and I think a lot of people like to be able to do everything on one character.
This feeds back into the whole I want to play solo piece, doesn't it?
Yeah, I want to do everything. Yeah,
I want to do everything. So I'm just going to be a generic class with little bits of something else, so I can just pin an identity onto it rather than actually be it.
That's tough.
Yeah,
some of those classes use solo. If you're playing, you solo as a healer or as a tank. Imagine soloing as a warrior in P99 with no gear or anything like that.
Yeah,
like it would take you months. I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't done it yet.
Oh, no, I'm not. Listen, I think everyone who plays this game is masochistic, but not that bad. My God.
Oh, I don't know. You've got your barbarian rogue.
Well, the barbs are going good. It's a trio now.
Oh, really?
I got my brother-in-law involved. So
yeah.
He picked up the shaman mantle.
Right. So you got your stat buffs.
We got some. Yeah, we got some heals, we got some buffs. So now we can take on most anything.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah.
Thinking about starting a little guild.
All right.
Some sort of a self-found guild.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily have to be a barbarians. We're not like, got to be barbarian. No, we're good. But call it like the founders or something. Make a little self-found guild. I think that'd be cool.
All right. Cool.
So
Yeah,
we'll see. If anyone's listening and you're interested, we can reach out and we'll get it going, I guess.
Yeah. So what's well, we're gonna have to know how to contact you, Nate.
That's true. You know what? Let me I don't know. How do I well, I don't even know the best way to do this. Rorem is my in-game barbarian name. ROREM. So you can send a tell or anything like that.
Brilliant. There we go. I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Don't let me forget.
All right. Yeah, because I even saw a post not too long ago about a guy that was doing something very similar. He was solo, but he's looking for a self-found guild, and there really isn't one as far as I understand. So yeah, if anyone's interested, there we go.
Yeah, there we go. Good stuff. So shall we move on slightly and talk about some confessions?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, right, now then, on the podcast, we often feature confessions which are normally handed in anonymously through the website at richardsonsrubicon.com. And we've got none, none so far, right, for this episode. However, we do have a Reddit post that I've got a link to there in the agenda if you want to have a quick look at that.
Yeah.
I think if you click on it, it will open up.
I did see this post.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff in here.
Yeah. So it was started off by Jew Cheetah 4883 and it was just titled Secret Confessions, right? Which is great. It's a great title. And someone has put here, Apple Bottom Beans. I think that's what that says. I was a GM in 1999 to 2001 and would secretly hand out loot to random players in newbie zones. I'd do this by putting raid loot on random mobs like orcs and G-Fey and skeletons in Butcherblock Mountains. Tune-Air server, by the way.
That's great.
Could you imagine that?
Just find a raid weapon on a skeleton or something.
On a skeleton, yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, you don't know how true these are, but I can't believe
I mean,
that.
You gotta imagine, like, somebody probably did it.
Yeah.
That's great, though.
I mean,
I can imagine you're the happiest noob in the world. You're like, oh my god, a cool sword! Like, and you have no idea it's that good, but
do you know what I would do? I'd be like, oh my god, cool sword or whatever, right? And then I'd be like, I don't know what to do with this. And then I might sell it to a vendor if it wasn't no drop or something like that. I'd just be utterly crap with it. But
I'd just be killing all the skeletons. Saying, oh, maybe there's more.
Yeah. It's probably responsible for noobs spending all the time killing skeletons on the server. Yeah, just
like level 10 killing skeletons still.
Yeah, I'm going to get that sword again.
Yeah, I saw it that once. I swear. Oh god.
So, what's this one? This is from Mail for You 2. Back in the day on my druid, when players would beg for plat in EC Tunnel, we don't often see that, do we? I would get them to group with me, saying I would give them good group buffs. Instead, I would port them to Surefall Glade and leave them there.
That's awesome.
It's a bit cruel, isn't it?
I mean, I don't think begging for plat is probably the best course of action, but,
no.
I guess you do you.
You do you. I mean, this plays to what you were saying, actually, a little bit about people. Well, anyway, I'll just read it out. Calm Resignation posted on Teak, so that's recent.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll go anon on my paladin and reply to people looking for a cleric and heal groups for a while when I'm too lazy to tank.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, pally heals are a bit rubbish, though, aren't they? They're not
true. He's just like, I'll just feel like healing today.
Take a rest.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
That's funny. I think people underestimate how active tanking is in this game. For most classes, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, some classes is easy. Like Shadow Knight is really easy. Put a
Yeah.
couple dots on, and you'll never lose aggro. But
Yeah.
I've actually seen a weird. I think I was saying this earlier. I've seen a weird influx of everybody wants to tank recently on the Reddit, and so many people asking questions. And I was like, I think that's cool, but it's very random.
Yeah. I wonder what the draw is then.
I don't know. I don't know if it's alts or new players or what, but
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
I
You can always
must
use more
admit,
tanks. No.
I've never felt the need to tank. I mean, I must admit it was a curious build I made of that cleric. You know, it was built to solo a little bit better than, you know, a standard
Yeah, that's
cleric.
cool.
And I didn't do too badly as well because I could, you know, I stunned almost constantly, you know, and that helped me a great deal when I was, you know, fighting and whatnot, and I could heal myself. So it was almost like a war of attrition that I eventually got the mob down, you know, but that came in handy.
I guess it's doable as a cleric. It's just extremely slow.
Yeah, it is. It is really slow. Yeah.
You dump your whole bar for like one mob, and then you're like, okay, I sit for 20 minutes now.
Now I'm going to sit for 20 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. So I told you I couldn't play.
We gotta get you playing like a monk or something different. Spice it up, you know?
Spice it up. I suppose you're right, but I've got to take time to actually learn how to play it as well. That's the thing.
Monk is a good one because pulling is not easy with FD and everything, Feign Death.
Yeah. So. Oh, I was trying. Everyone's going to start screaming. My necro. I wanted to start pulling with my necro.
Okay.
Right? FD pulling, you know.
Yep.
So I tried that a few times, and the first couple of times I was absolutely rubbish at it because I kept on failing at it, and I was getting the timing all wrong and all sorts of stuff. But I then started getting reasonably okay at it, you know. And I thought, well, this isn't too bad as a necro, but I don't think. I mean, someone on the forums at P99 was saying, well, that's one of your primary roles is to, you know, be able to pull and stuff like that. I mean, do you think?
I wouldn't say it's a primary role.
No, I wouldn't either. So,
I mean, there's like 4 or 5 classes that are better than you.
Yeah.
Pulling.
Yeah, exactly. So I just thought, no, that's
monk, bard, ranger.
Yeah, off the top of your head. Yeah. No, at a pinch, I suppose. But
yeah, for sure. I think Shadow Knights are actually better than Necros because you can take a hit.
Yeah.
And pulling, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think I'll consign that advice to the bin.
I mean, it's probably a good skill to have in case you need a puller, but I don't think it's a primary role.
No. He was kind of indicating that, you know, it was what groups would kind of expect, and I'm thinking, I've not really experienced that, so I don't think you're telling the truth. You know,
no, I mean,
you know, they're just interested in the DPS and the mana twitching and stuff, aren't they? So, you know, that's.
I think even Enchanter might be better puller, just because.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I tried. Because I'm not very good on my druid, so I tried befriend animal and things like this.
Oh yeah,
Oasis, yeah. So I was trying that, and I had some great fun with that. You know,
yeah.
So I was befriending the caimans and stuff like this, and you know, all of that real low level stuff. You know, but it was absolutely a hoot. I just loved it to bits.
Yeah.
It was just great fun. You know,
I think everyone forgets that they have animal charm.
Yeah,
druids.
Yeah. And it lasts for quite a bit as well.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I was quite surprised. I thought, oh no, this is going to sort of wear off after like 3 seconds, you know. But no, it was lasting for a good, 9 minutes or so.
Yeah, that's great.
Which is not bad.
I found it's really good for harm touch. If there's animals in the zone and you could just charm one easily, just eat a harm touch. There you go, done.
Right.
I mean, it saves you a ton of health. So.
Yeah, brilliant. So, slight pregnant pause whilst we look for the next thing to talk about.
Oh, here you go.
What's that?
From Gelbert. Before Rogue Pickpocket was on a different loot table, I would go and pick up raids and clean out all the mobs. So many diamonds.
Really? Wow. That's a bit
That's rough.
naughty. When did that change?
I don't know, actually. That must have been early.
Yeah, I've got to be an early.
Yeah.
You know.
But I mean, hey, he's just living the rogue roleplay, you know? Just stealing all the loot.
Well, yeah, why not?
It's a true rogue right there.
If it was in the mechanics, why not? You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, good. So, I've got a couple of Ask the Panel questions.
All right, let's do it.
Here we go. Hi all. I'm having trouble choosing a class on Project 1999. Can anyone recommend a good starting class for someone who likes a mix of solo play and group activities, which heads directly into the conversation we just had, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
all right, well, I'll let you
so
share
many,
your
though,
opinion.
isn't there? Yeah. Well, my opinion is, I'm over, I don't know, a mix of solo play. Solo play, I think in Necro is awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
Agreed.
I think it's absolutely one of the best to play. And I would imagine, what's that? Who can quad?
Druid, wizard.
Quad. Druid, the wizards.
Yep.
Yeah. Wizard quadding and stuff like that. Yeah. And the group activities, though, I mean, you've got to be useful for the group. Again, I would say Necro. And would you say Druid? Yes, you would, for evac and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Decent healer.
Yeah.
I actually think they're the second best healer. They get the next heal spell like before shamans do.
Yeah.
Up in the 20s or 30s, whatever it is.
What about the Pally?
Pally's,
it's about 9 levels behind a cleric, isn't it, or something in terms of healing?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
But
I think that the thing about solo is in this game, I think I don't want to say most. I think every class except one can reasonably solo.
Right.
Obviously, some are better at than others. I mean, Necro's the king of solo.
Yeah.
You know, Bard is also the king of solo.
Yeah.
But
I
then
love Bards.
Yeah, I know. They're awesome.
Yeah.
I think everything except for a rogue can reasonably solo.
Yeah.
But you know, everything is slow. Even Necro soloing is slow.
Yeah.
Bard's the only one that's not, and it's super, super hard to learn. I don't want to say hard to learn, but it's super, super intensive. Like you gotta be really paying attention to pull the whole zone and cut him down.
Yeah.
That's the only one that's even reasonably fast, and I would not expect a new player to play a Bard, period. So
right, yeah. What about incompatibility for group activities then?
I think most classes are useful. I mean, everything has its role. Everything has a role. I actually think Shaman's a pretty good choice for a first character. The Cannibalize is a little bit complex, but by that time you probably understand the class. You probably, can figure it out. And someone will probably teach you about the little dance, the little candy dance.
I don't know anything about that. I've heard it mentioned.
Oh, okay. So you cast Cannibalize. It takes a bunch of your health and gives you mana.
Yeah.
And then you sit to catch the server tick for regen, mana regen.
Yeah.
And then you stand back up, you cast it again, you sit, you're just up and down, up and down.
Right.
So
the candy dance, very good.
That's what it is. Yeah. Usually you have regen on yourself so that the Cannibalize doesn't hurt you too badly.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good first character. I don't think it's super complex. You could definitely solo little root rot action.
Yeah.
And you got decent dots as a shaman for sure. And then they add a ton to a group, especially if you're a melee group. Like they'll love you forever. So
yeah,
you can heal any group, mostly.
There we go then. So basically, the shaman, as you say, and the necro is really what we're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think most classes are fine. I wouldn't recommend enchanter or a bard for a new player, just because they're a little bit more complex. They're a little bit harder. I mean, enchanter's so easy to die on.
Yeah.
When you're charming and and then bard's just super intensive, like click wise. You really have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I think anything is fair game. I wouldn't rogue if I was first player. If I was first new character.
No.
Just because you need to group as a rogue, or have ridiculous gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it just comes down to mostly personal preference. If you want to play a mage and you want to have a cool pet, then do that. If you want to, smack things with a big sword, I don't know, play a warrior.
I think you're right, but I think this one's looking for the winning ticket.
I have
so
found
eh?
I've introduced a bunch of people to this game and other iterations, whether it's
Yeah,
TLPs or whatever. I found that the most of the time, the people that stick with the game and play it out and have a good time rather than just like 1 or 2 sessions have chosen something that they enjoy rather than what's the
of
best
course.
class, right?
Yeah,
You got to enjoy it. And if someone
yeah.
says go play a necro and you hate a necro for whatever reason, you're not going to enjoy it.
Well, I suppose that's my experience with the druid, isn't it? Really, I'm not really enjoying my druid, but I'm only doing it so that I can get the ports and then start making a little bit of money with it. So
Yep, I get
that's
that.
the only reason I'm doing it. And every time I log in, I'm thinking, oh, do I have to do this? I'm sort of pinching my nose.
Hey, you could have gone for the wizard.
I could have, I suppose. I'm not going to start again, though. I really can't be bothered.
Yeah,
so I'll have a break, I think, and play my necro. I really do enjoy playing my necro, I've got to say.
I mean, listen, wizard, you could just AFK for 20 minutes and no one even questions you. So
I knew that's what they were doing.
That is definitely the stereotype.
Definitely.
Is burn the whole bar and then, oh yeah, I gotta sit.
Yeah.
FK guys, 5 minutes, be right back.
5 minutes, yeah. Soak up all that XP.
Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So next question then from someone called Not Greedy. That'll give you a hint as to what this question's about. So what's the best way for a new player to make money on Project 1999? Are there particular items I should be looking out for? I think you've hinted on this a couple of times, actually. Farming in certain locations to make some initial plat. Or specific strategies I should follow. And where are the secret camps?
Oof, the secret camps. Oh,
the
boy.
Secret camps that are in a well-documented 25-year-old game.
I think with very few exceptions, probably. I don't even know. But my estimate is probably 90% of the secret camps at this point are all public.
Well, of course, yeah.
I mean, just based on the fact that, again, like you said, the game is 25 years old. So
yeah, I found the best ways for me to make money when I was leveling up was the Minotaur camp in Butcher Block.
Yep, that's pretty good.
So you've got the gems and stuff like that drop from those, and it's easily splittable group, isn't it? So it's in fact they're almost separate, distinct targets, really. So that's really quite good. And then you've got the other one, which I thoroughly enjoy, is the what's it called? It's the island in Ocean of Tears. Statues.
Oh, the yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that
Not
one.
Sea Furies, right?
No. The statues on Skeleton Island or something in Ocean of Tears.
I don't know if I know that one.
Yeah, so basically there are these statues and they drop their eyes and they sell for, I don't know, I can't remember what it is.
Oh, the gargoyles you're talking about?
The gargoyles, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My mind is telling me 10 plat, but my brain is telling me 1 plat. So I can't remember the exact, but it's quite a lot of money for what it is. So.
There's also one of those in Dagnor's, I think, as well.
In Dagnor's Cauldron, yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the more common secret camps, I guess.
Yeah, because not many people go there, really, do they?
Yeah, it's skeletons, and then there's gargoyles on one little island.
Yeah.
And if you can leave half of it up, so that way only half of it keeps respawning, because the gargoyles are like a rare spawn.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's close to 10 plat that they sell for those eyes.
Yeah, I was
decent money.
Trying to remember that. Yeah, I couldn't remember. It's been a little while, so. Yeah, so I think those are the. What suggestions have you got, or is that?
I mean, I don't know how new he's talking about. He says new player there, but
new player, yeah.
It's tough as a low level. It's tough to make if he's thinking I'm gonna make $5,000. That's gonna take you a long time.
Yeah,
that's gonna take a long time. But my suggestion would be to get into a group that's in a decent zone that drops decent amount of stuff. So, for example, Mistmore, right?
Yeah.
You get the Gargoyle Eyes once in a while, which is great. You get all the fine steel stuff, which is all I don't know, 4 or 5 plat each. get a couple of weight reducing bags, fill them up, and then once in a while you get the big ticket items. If you're over in front of the castle, you get like the gypsy loot. You'll get like some of that other stuff. There's a chest plate in there that's pretty good. That would be my suggestion. I think everyone's very obsessed with. I don't want to say everyone. A lot of people are very obsessed with like, oh, I'm level 10. I want to buy raid tier gear.
Yeah, it's just not happening.
You just don't need it now.
Yeah.
Listen, my suggestion: if you're a monk, for example, right, pick up a Woo's trans stick for like 50 plat or 75 plat, whatever it is, and you're good till like level 40. Like you don't need anything else.
Right.
And there's a bunch of items like that for especially melees, but because casters don't really need gear at all, just spell money. But I mean, you can go to your 60 with cloth probably as most casters.
Yeah.
Especially like wizard or something like that. I mean, but
but you've got to look good. You can't
I mean, fashion quest is a thing. It is a thing. But I just that's my opinion, and maybe I'm a little more practical, but that's
very excellent advice. Excellent advice. Right. Well, I think that wraps it up. Really, I've got nothing else on the agenda to say. Really, have you got anything to say?
Well, I know we got to get back to talking with everybody, because I know we had considered doing some sort of in-game event.
We did.
I'm super into it. Let's go.
I know. Let's get it organized.
Whether we do like
forum,
one of those old school level 1 races, or we do like pick a zone. I was thinking about this actually recently.
Yeah.
Pick a zone, you get like an hour or something. Right. We'll set a time limit, and then we go to like Kanos, or we go to like whatever, one of the cities with a PvP arena, and we just duke it out. and the last one standing wins.
This reminds me of what I used to do with my brother-in-law. We used to do
really?
That. Yeah. So, he used to knock 7 bells of hell out of me, sort of thing.
That's
I got him a few times as well. So
yeah, everybody pick a class, pick a race. There you go. Meet up at Kanos or wherever, somewhere with an arena. Right. Just duke it out.
Right. Well, we'll have to do that then, and maybe we can get some people to come along with us. What do you reckon?
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, I've got to shoot. My wayward son is coming back, so I've got to prepare him some food, and I'll see you next time, Nate.
Not ready.
Are you tired of modern online games with their flashy graphics and hand-holding tutorials? Do you long for the days when adventure meant braving the perils of Norath with nothing but your wits and a rusty sword? Well, dust off your spell book, gird your loins, and prepare for a blast from the past with Project 1999's classic EverQuest. Dive into the nostalgic world of classic EverQuest, where the pixels are big, the challenges are bigger, and the loot, well, the loot is still pretty pixelated, but oh so satisfying. Join thousands of fellow adventurers in this authentic recreation of EverQuest, just as it was in 1999. No microtransactions, no hand-holding, no pay-to-win. Just pure, unadulterated nostalgia. And death. Lots of death. So what are you waiting for? Embark on the ultimate retro gaming experience where your epic quests await. Project 1999. Because sometimes the classics are just better. Visit project1999.com to start your adventure today.
Take part in the podcast. Leave a voicemail, make a confession, or book in as a guest. Just visit richardsonsrubicon.com.